What's up, everybody? Welcome to the stream. Poker time delay disabled. So, Chilean here. Cold, snowing outside. Asterbate, how are you? Good to see you. Alright, so I've got a dad joke for you. Asterbate, what's the number one sign an amphibian is developing dementia? Come on. What is the most common symptom among amphibians developing dementia? Answer me, man. The most common symptom for amphibians developing dementia is brain fog. Anyway, yeah, brain fog. Scientific studies have proven double vision, quintuple vision. So you're looking at one frog, but you might see five. Also very common. So I've got one game. I feel like somebody submitted a game and I forgot about it. Other questions. Whatever happened to Mule Skinner? Why doesn't he submit games anymore? What about other people? Alright, if you please as the master. We have a game from Asterbate. Seems like just last week. We have a game from Morales. We only have 2 games. What about Nefudov? Nefudov didn't submit a game this week. Okay. So we're short of games. No problem. We could play some puzzles instead. Or do whatever. We could play Red Dead Redemption. I don't care. So it's Asterbate versus Steph B88. That means our opponent should be a Nydorf player. No, wait. No, wait. B88 is probably... Actually, I don't know what it is. Some kind of classical, like Richter Rouser. I feel like that's lower. Anyway, alright, just a joke. Steph B88. Asterbate versus Steph B88. Oh, welcome, G-Souths. Guys, we don't have the 2-minute delay on, right? Because you guys took forever laughing at my awesome joke about brain frogs. We don't have a delay on the stream. I had turned it on. I was experimenting with turning one on last stream. We turned it off. I hope it stayed off. Right, Asterbate? We fix stuff on this ship. It stays fixed. God damn it. Let's double check, though. Just in case, you know, Twitch decided to do something funny. Where the hell is my... Wow, that's weird. Okay, I think it's off the side of the screen. Weird, there's settings. Okay, settings. Settings advanced. Advanced. Replay buffer. That's not familiar. No stream delay. It's not enabled. Okay, we're good. You're just not participating. Let me move the board or not. It doesn't really matter, I guess. We could make the board a bit larger, perhaps. Let's see. If we make the bit larger board and then move it over. It might look better. There. Okay, that's cool. There we go. So, in other news, we've raised $126.78, 12678 of our summer tournament goal. We don't have a summer tournament yet. I had mentioned the fantastic possibility of going to Las Vegas for the National Open. That's really not realistic. I live in Europe. It's far. To go to Las Vegas in the summer or almost summer seems kind of insane. I thought, okay, World Series of Poker. I'm broke anyway. I don't have much money. So maybe I'll play a tournament here in Europe. What I was looking at was a couple of things. There has always been, for as long as I can remember, a tournament in Andorra in July. And this year's the 42nd annual Andorran Open, which is a good tournament. And it's in a nice place where it's not really hot because that's in the Pyrenees on the border between France and Spain. So that sounds like a really cool idea. That would be July, early mid-July. Or I can also play in Croatia in June, the middle of June. There's the Pula Open, which is another famous tournament. So a couple things. I need to make a decision soon. But if you guys know of any good tournaments, I really want to play something good in June, or ideally June or July. Okay, so we've got Astrobait versus Steph B88. Brain Frog. Nobody laughed at my joke. Come on. Give me some freaking bits, man. Create a clip. So Astrobait, you're playing white. It's knight f3. Ready opening. Knight f3, c6, and then c4. So I'll tell you right now, guys, if people play c6 on move 1 against knight f3 or d4, they want to play the freaking Caro-Kann. I hate the Caro-Kann. It's boring, it's overplayed, it's almost as bad as the London system. And so yeah, the last thing you want to do is give them the Caro-Kann. They love the Caro-Kann. Caro-Kann Slav. So Astrobait plays c4. Oh, another news. King's Indian Defense. Hi, I am Sludgy. Did I get to go to the Seniors World Cup? I don't know what you're referring to. I played in the World Senior back in the World Senior Championship, individual championship back in November, which I did play. I don't know if you're talking about that. There was an idea of playing the World Senior Team Championship in April, which has since been deleted. That is now not happening. I played in the World Individual Senior Championship 50 group, and I finished in 9th place. Okay, that was back in November for 2025. Another piece of news, not so good news, although it doesn't affect me personally. Great chess player has passed away. For those of you who don't know, Dutch former number 3 in the world, Jan Timman, just died. So that's big news. He was not only a great player, but a great author and editor for New in Chess, and he basically did a lot of the best chess journalism with New in Chess and his various editing of their magazine and other stuff he contributed. So that's a really big loss for the world and for the chess world. Timman was 74, and I don't know if he had been ill, but that's not too old. So sad news. So c4 d5 e3, and now black plays bishop f5, Disasterbate versus Steph B88. So this move, fully playable, reversed London system. If you look at the score this move has in the database, it's really not good. I want to compare this to a slightly different position. So if we say d5, d4, c6, c4, bishop f5, which is regarded as slightly better for white, like an inaccurate line for black. The difference is Asterbate's playing e3 early, and instead of d4, we've played e3. So this bishop is open here, and I think that that is actually an advantage because we can take on d5 and use the bishop early. So I would think like this is worse here than, and like these type of ideas are common, but the problem is that queen b3 isn't a one-trick pony. You're attacking d5 and b7. So that's a serious problem for black. So the eternal question is, should white play queen b3 or c takes d first? And I never know. Whenever you do this move, it always feels like a little bit counterintuitive because you're opening the position, but you're also giving the knight a good square at c6. So this move shouldn't be played, and generally speaking, like, releasing the tension shouldn't be done. Unless you have a good reason, a good concrete reason to trade pawns. If there's no good concrete reason, then we play queen b3. This move is not recommended this early. I think that this move should probably be put away until black at least if the bishop's locked outside the punching, yeah. But the bottom line, you play knight h4 here, black can play like anything. He can go here. I don't think that knight h4 is very effective. That's the side of the board over there. Though honestly, Gabble Roll Mops, there are many positions where that's strong. It's strong. If you get the bishop, if you can guarantee you get the bishop, you play for that concrete advantage. Not easy to get it here. So I don't think knight h4. The question is really this: queen b3 attacking d5 and attacking b7, or exchanging first. So if I exchange first and then play queen b3, and now you play queen b6, I have queen takes d5, right? But what if I play queen b3 and you play knight d7 and I take this pawn? Gambit style. I wouldn't take that pawn. Queen b3, knight d7. He has to play e6, queen takes b7, then knight d7. Yeah, but this is still looking kind of dubious for black. So I don't think that black can just lose a pawn here either. Anyway, so after bishop f5, Asterbate exchanged, and now black could consider, I suppose you could consider knight f6, playing it like basically like a Smith-Morra. Gabble Smith-Morra mops, rops. You play knight h4 a lot. You play knight h4 a lot. Yeah, in certain positions, but not this one. In the closed Slav, it's a normal idea, but black has played knight f6 and e6, and you're going knight h4, and the bishop has nowhere to go. You hunt it down. Here you can't hunt it down, and you end up with your knight on the side of the board. So it's not good. The bishop is not restricted by e6. So I think knight h4 is out of the question. A move that you might actually consider would be in some positions the knight d4. In certain positions where maybe you have like a pin with bishop e5, that's more likely to be good. But I was just thinking, like, if black wants to play knight f6, I suppose this is not absurd. It's not. It's probably not good, but it's not completely absurd. Let's say knight f6, right? I would bet you that black could consider something like queen b3, but if you take and black takes, what do we get here? A kind of weird, hey, it's Miro gambit, knight c3. You know, this is where it might work, actually. If you want to start talking about knight h4, this type of position where you go like here, check, king d2, knight takes a1, knight takes f5. Now we're talking. You know, maybe now we're talking about, or maybe actually this move, to be more exact. This is a situation where I would say, you know, knight h4 might seriously be, but that's tactics. You know, that's about cutting off this knight's retreat. So anyway, bishop f5, c takes d5, and now a very bad move, queen takes d5. That's bad. And I like to slow roll these situations a lot, where they bring the queen out in the center game, the queen takes d4 in the Sicilian counter, center counter, whatever, Scandinavian. But I think you have to ask yourself in this position, honestly, if you don't play knight c3 here, then what are you going to do? You know, what can you play? Bishop c4 hangs a piece. It's possible to play like b3 with the idea of bishop c4. So I don't like to play this move dogmatically. I'll be honest. It's played too dogmatically by a lot of people. But I think here, what are you going to do? I mean, your only other option is really d4. And you're going to end up playing knight c3 anyway. But here we have more flexibility. This is definitely right. And now, because you don't maybe have to commit to d4, you can play e4, for example. Black should go to a5 or d8. That's it. a5, d8, no, okay, queen d6. It's a Scandinavian, basically. It's not a Scandinavian, but the queen is like in the Scandinavian. But I think knight c3 is good. We're not playing b3, because the knight is going to block that bishop. If you want to play a hedgehog or something, a reverse hedgehog, then you need your knight on d2. We're not doing that. We're playing a central advance d4, e4. Queen d7, very bad. Blocking the knight, and also putting the queen on a square where it can be attacked by knight e5. I mean, obviously, this is much better. Probably the best. So here, and obviously queen a5 is playable. That would actually, you know, at least indirectly control e4. So on d4, you know, I can't follow up with e4 because the bishop takes. It has some validity here. Drop back to c7. But this is awful, right? And now Acerbate goes immediately knight e5. Have you ever heard the expression, oh, Arsenal fan, it's too late? No, we have plenty of time. Have you ever heard the expression, the threat is stronger than the execution? Actually, it's funny because Acerbate normally doesn't, he likes to keep stuff sort of under wraps. You know, he doesn't always like jump with the first immediate threat. I think knight e5 is a good move, but again, you might want to think about holding off. I mean, if you play bishop c4, then you're threatening really devastating knight e5. Black will obviously play e6 most of the time, but if you're lucky, they might not, you know. Or bishop takes f7. So I don't know. Is it best to go here? I think there's something to be said for this move, right? Being the guy's queen is on a bad square. He's placed the queen on a bad square where it's vulnerable. So by playing knight e5, we're moving the same knight twice, and we're also driving the enemy's queen away from an unsafe square. We're like, hey, dude, your queen is on a very unsafe square. Get it off of there. You know, why are we helping him? I think it's probably better to play d4 or just develop with bishop c4. Because we can play knight e5 when we want to. This is a threat. Serious threat of bishop takes f7 now. So I think this is a mistake. You forced him to correct his mistake. But I have to admit that I missed the follow-up here. So it looks like black has to find... Okay, an active move. Queen c7 is obvious. But I'm thinking that you have a shot, don't you? So queen c7, knight takes f7. Or, I mean, possibly... No, because this queen could defend laterally. It's now or never, right? If queen c7, knight takes f7, king takes f7, queen f3, now black has a difficult position because of threats of like g4. Arsenal fan, you got a game? Send it to me, please. So can he defend with something like king g6? Well, good luck with that. So, all right, this is interesting. The other possibility for black is that he protects f5. So if you play queen c8, that subtly not only protects b7, but also this. So, you know, if queen b3, there's a double attack. But we can protect f7 in advance. And this is important that it's protecting f5, but that's very subtle to see that. So queen d8, a natural move, but a mistake. And now you had queen b3 with double attack. But in addition to that move, I would say you have also knight f7. I mean, I can't believe this is okay for black, but maybe he can play king f7. But the only way it makes sense would be like king g6, right? Maybe he can... you think he can like give the piece back? I mean, this is a bad position for black, no doubt. Yeah, so I mean, here he remains temporarily up a piece, but it looks like black is awfully close to getting mated. I just want to check with the computer. G4 is best. But this position doesn't win itself. You know, you are down a piece. So queen b3, queen f3 also. Okay, but black can try to defend with bishop g6 there. I mean, now we can try, let's say, h4. It does look pretty bad for black. You know, I would think this is pretty bad. You know, although maybe black can hold, like knight d7, knight d7, knight d7, queen d7, h5, and then wherever, you know. He's hanging on. So you got to be incisive. So you play knight d5, black plays queen d8, and then this. It's not the strongest move. Black has two moves, bishop g6, and obviously e6, but e6 covers f7. You also have queen b3, but that's just one threat. So this bishop c4 isn't as good as queen b3. Queen b3 right away with a concrete double attack. So very inaccurate. And then this is horrific, though. I mean, black can't continue with that move. So that's not an option. I mean, bishop e6 is not really an option. I mean, anything's better than that. Why doesn't black play like knight h6? No? This has to be better than bishop e6. Yeah, can white play queen f3 if e6? Right. Yeah. But we still have... Black has defenses, you know, the bishop g6. So I think we would again get to one of these sort of situations where we play h4 and or black can try knight h6 again, something weird. This looks awful for black. Obviously, it's all very bad, but bishop c4 is inaccurate, then that's terrible. And now you're just winning. But okay, I would expect, you know, white to normally go with a check, but g6, knight takes, knight f6. I don't know why Asterbate knows this theme, and I'm surprised he didn't go for this. This is very direct. Check, g6 takes, knight h4, and now the point is, well, the point is you have squares. Black doesn't lose immediately. After, say, queen h4, queen h3, I guess we go here. Maybe this is best. Rook g8. And then knight f4, for example. Attacking e6. Yeah, queen h3 is really good. It even protects g2. So that rook doesn't do anything. But Asterbate goes this way. And I suppose this is fine too. We're just picking off b7. They're both good. True, he has queen c8, right? Okay, yeah, so this isn't as good. He has queen c8. I mean, I think that white is winning anyway. You know, probably knight e4 is winning anyway. I mean, we have threats of this and this. And ultimately, yeah. Black can't defend. There's no way that he's going to be able to defend here. Against the double Asterbate knights. It's a beginner mistake by black. Okay, queen d6, and then you just take on b7. The standard. So here you were too laissez-faire. Laissez-faire, laissez-faire. d4. Wait, does a clear advantage, but no material to show for his efforts. Now, I would think maybe b6 is safer than b5. b5. It's kind of like, well, you have a choice between b6 and b5. Why b5? b5 feels more aggressive, but it also weakens your position more. It leaves the c5 square weak, and you can get undermined by a4. Right. That's true, Arsenal fan. Like, he could try to sack the pawn here. This is a good suggestion. Queen takes b7. Something like that. Rook b8. Queen takes a7. It's terrible for black, but better than nothing, I guess. I would say like b6, probably. Terrible, but you got to keep playing. b5, castles, knight d7, and now interesting position. So should we play f4? My first go-to here is what he did. You had knight e4. Okay, so the computer finds this, but I would be concerned about that. Black has too many tactical issues. So what happens? Queen takes d5, e takes d5, knight takes d7. This isn't that simple. Queen d5, knight takes d7 right away. Queen takes b3, a takes b. This is the computer's line. And now king takes d7, knight c5, check, etc. White has a clear advantage. Once again, the position doesn't win itself, but it's very, very horrible for black. You're almost certainly going to lose. It's going to take a while. So Asterbate plays f4. This is a good move too. Now black takes, opening the f file. I guess that's pretty much fatal. F takes e5, opening that file. And there's no knight f6 now, and there's no bishop, which is cemented. Yeah, obviously cemented. There's no queen d5. He has to go to d7. So now we have this, and it's, well, massacre. Queen e7, knight e2. Knight e2. Direct to the point. But black has queen d5. So Astrobate, like, instead of going to e2, you could have gone to e4, allowed that, and then got the same thing with, like, knight c5. There's a better way to do it. Here, here, correct. And now I like this very spirited move by Astrobate, queen d1. Avoiding the exchange of queens when you have an attacking position. Good for you. Okay. Knight f4. I would guess this was a Caro-Kann advanced variation. Queen d7, queen h5 check. Doesn't quite cut it. But you do have queen h3. So black can play g6. You have to go back. And now you're attacking e6. He can play knight f5. And the beat goes on. Now there's knight takes g6. Here we go again. You know, okay, king d8, very bad. It's amazing that black is still alive. But his health bar, you guys, we have a health bar. If you donate, follow, donate bits, or subscribe, my health bar goes down. You know, and then someone else becomes the stream boss. You sent the game. Alright. Stream boss. Extreme boss. So if I lose my health bar, I become the extreme boss. So many Arsenal fans, so little time. All right. Oh, there it is. Look at that. Took out my health bar. Now that donation of 5 gift subs should really take a chunk out of my health bar. I have to check it now. Let's see. Astrobate, sorry, Arsenal fan donated 5 gift subs. I'm curious what this does to the stream boss bar. It's gonna be like a huge. I'm gonna move it so we can see. Yeah, see that? I think it's 100. Maybe not 100, but it's a lot. Like per sub. You took a lot of my health points. I think maybe 200, 200 or 300 per gift sub. Took out of my health bar. Because I was 47. I was at 4,700 hit points. And now after Arsenal fans 5 donations, I dropped down to 3,530. So that's cool. We just started using this. You're the first person to donate like a significant amount since we started it last stream. All right, thanks Arsenal fan, huge dono of 5 gift subs. And gift subs are useful because they do, you know, bring more people to the stream. All right, I'm gonna put that away and get Arsenal fans game. Messages, yes. I was black. 18 months. Copy. All right. Here. Add new chapter. All right, we're still not done though. Finishing off Astrobate's game. Finishing off Astrobate's game. Yeah. We got to, the game is winning for white. But not over yet. Okay. And now where? Where? You see, the problem in the knight on f5, we'll need to drive it away with g4 maybe. Because the e4 leaves d4 too weak. Plus we have to watch these sacrifices. It looks like he has knight takes d4. Honestly, Arsenal fan, when I saw that, it's not such an unusual idea in the Slav. But I guess it also happens in the Caro-Kann. So this knight takes d4 as a sack. But I don't know if Asterbate calculated it, but his move defends against it because he has, take, check, bishop e3. So black can't sacrifice the piece here. I mean, he can. It just would result in, sacrificing a piece for 3 pawns. Of course, with no development, black is completely 100% lost here. But anyway, just worthy to note that. So g4. G4 is possible, very strong. This is possible too, because now d4 can't be supported. So the dude took it anyway. This guy wasn't long for this world. By the way, Steph B88 rated 1490. I play some 1490s, some 1600s, who play like masters. You just can't, you cannot even look at people's ratings. Better to play in Zen mode. Don't even look at people's ratings, because one 1490 plays like an 800, the next one plays like a master, one 1600 plays like, an IM, the next one plays like a 1100. I mean, it's just, there's no way to tell. Practicing always. Are you a subscriber? You guys have to be subscribers. Did you just get a gift sub? We got 5 gift subs to Fatebug, Black Knight, Arabonio, Piwashi Plush, and Keep Waiting Till Game Starts. Treat everyone with equal amount of disrespect. Exactly. Don't be overconfident against anybody. Don't be overconfident against anybody. Knight takes d4, queen d3, and we win a piece. Okay, so this is over. My default is to always tell myself that I play every game like I'm playing against the world champion. The problem is that works in practice when you start the game, but what ends up happening is that something subconsciously shifts. Whenever I'm playing a game, I might tell myself I'm going to treat the opponent with utmost respect, but something shifts, subconsciously, always, during the game, emotions or whatever. So the problem is that I can't remain objective when things start to shift during the actual game. No matter how much you tell yourself you're going to play like Mr. Spock, it's like, oh, he's cheating, he's going to the bathroom, using his mobile phone, he sucks, he's a super GM, There's something distracting you. It's hard to maintain your objectivity. Anyway, this is over. Rook f8, trade the rook off, you're up a piece. This is very nice. Mate in 2. This guy, see how good this player is at avoiding mate. You have a very nice shot now. Asterbate found it. Bishop takes e7. That's a beautiful move. So he can still get away. Your opponent is one of those players. There's this whole category of players who are like 1400, where their number one skill is avoiding mate in 1. They're like grandmasters at avoiding mate in 1. They must practice puzzles where it's like black to move and avoid mate in 1. I mean, this all these people do. They can go for like 100 moves and not get mated in 1. They're lost the whole time. But they're awesome at not getting mated in 1. I'm being kind of facetious, but it's true. If they put as much energy into other aspects of the game as they do, seriously, there's a whole class of players like this. If they put as much energy into not getting mated in 1 in lost positions, into other aspects of the game, they would use their time much more, usefully. Anyway, so here he goes. Everything wins for white. Asterbate gets materialistic. But at some level, we're all materialists. Bobby Fischer was kind of materialistic in his own way. We saw some Fischer quote like that. Okay, so that's a nice one. Made on a7. All right, that's out of the way. So we got game 3. This is Arsenal fan who just submitted this game. But it's a beginner fallacy, the whole oh, we got to play out the game, when we're down a queen, avoiding mate in one. Yeah, you shouldn't give up too early. There's a whole art to like knowing when to resign. But at the same time, be practical about it. You know, it's important to really not waste our time. You know, defending and playing out hopeless positions. So anybody who has a chess coach who tells them they should never resign, I know this is kind of like a rudimentary rule for like kindergarten level coaches telling the kids not to resign, not to give up. There's always a chance or whatever, but at some point you have to go beyond that. And Acerbate's opponent, you know, is still on that kindergarten level of not resigning. Okay, so Acerbate. Now we got Arsenal fan, the A's. So nice to see you back, Arsenal fan. Hope all is well. I'm glad that you got to play again. This is with black. I was trying to learn the Benko, but I've short attention span, and I've been kind of it's hard going. Benko's it's fun, but objectively, you know, I can't say it's necessarily better than the Benoni. I think the computer likes it a tiny bit more, but it's really irrelevant. You know what I mean? Another thing, another comment, another category of or topic of conversation should be how do we, as practical tournament players, how do we use the engine? Well, first of all, the engine is a computer's perspective evaluation, and it's based like look at that. So the Benko is better than the Benoni by 1/10 of a pawn, according to Stockfish at depth 55, which is like 20 some moves into the game. That's irrelevant. What's relevant is does, you know, the type of position you get after b5 or e6 work better for you? One thing about e6 versus b5, you're faster to castle. You know, I mean, if you're playing e6 and you're getting your bishop out, not necessarily. You might be faster to castle in some lines, especially if you played like an old Benoni, you know, like e6, bishop e7 or something like that. b5 does nothing about like developing the king side. e6 might. e6, okay, Benoni, knight c3, e takes d5, c takes d5, d6. d6 because the central roller. Arsenal knows all this stuff. I'm just reiterating like fundamentals of the Benoni while we're here. Opponent plays e4. And now Arsenal's in book, but it's also the best move. This isn't a question of book. I mean, this is just the best move. Because you have less cramp in your position. Bishop e7 is inferior, where the pieces are, of course, constricted. So g6, and now opponent plays one of the most popular moves, which I've played a lot against Arsenal fan, bishop d3, securing, you know, e4. What happened to Gabel Rollmops? Gabel Rollmops, where did you go? Am I hallucinating that he was here before? Didn't he make a comment? Gobble gobble. So bishop d3, okay. Whatever. Bishop g7. Now, our main line is h3. That's a modern line. That line didn't become popular until the 90s. When I first started playing chess in the 80s, Fischer-Spassky wasn't that far behind. So Fischer-Spassky match in 1972, the Benoni became very popular as a result of that. The result of Fischer playing the Benoni against Spassky. And so the way, that Spassky played was considered kind of normal back then. This variation with h3 wasn't really known until the 90s. So it's a fairly modern line. Having said that, knight e2 is the Yasser attack. And I don't know. We would need to ask Yasser. Who is the godfather of this? Because this is something that I don't know anything about. And Seirawan had very good results, always playing this with white. But it's subtle. It's positional and subtle for white. I would say the knights are a little bit weird. You've got the situation where you have redundant knights. It never appealed to me, because I don't really like putting my knight on g3. So it's like, where is that knight going? It's not blocking the f-pawn. It's not going anywhere. So the upside of knight e2 is that it doesn't block the f-pawn. So he can play, f3, f4. But the downside is like, well, when the hell and where and when the hell is this guy ever going to move his knights anywhere? Well, he's not, for a long time, probably. But it's really, the main point is to not inhibit this pawn. So castles, very rare to not castle quickly, and that's what I'm saying. The advantage of the Benoni versus the Benko is like, we're out of here and castled. We're not getting blown out with our king in the center. Castles, and now I don't know what I'm doing. For me, this is a King's Indian. I have played against the Samish, but the Samish is like, white is committed to f3. And the advantage for white here is that he's not committed to f3. He can play f4. So if white has already wasted time on f3, I can play knight d7 and go for knight e5. If you want to play f3, f4 in 2 moves, that's a little bit of a different story, right? How else can we understand this position? How can you understand this position in terms of how to play it? I mean, you can see games by strong players like Mr. Slow. I remember now, I think it was Mr. Slow, when he shared a bunch of games by Velimirovich, we went over on the stream, and I don't know if Arsenal Fan had already gone on his sabbatical yet. This was like last year, maybe a year ago, or even longer. But I do remember one thing. This knight glomping onto g4 can happen, right? This can happen because there's no f3. And I know that white oftentimes plays h3 in tandem here with knight e2, taking control of g4. But all I'm saying is, like, this is an idea, because knight g4 and queen h4, also the knight bouncing back to e5 in some cases. I don't trust Asterbait going knight g4 here right away. I said Asterbait because I mean Asterbait, not Arsenal Fan. But this looks like something Asterbait would do. Well, let's see who played it. Ilya Smirin. Da-da! Dragulyubov Velimirovich. So, I know some things, maybe somewhere I don't have brain fog, but that doesn't mean it's necessarily black's best move in this position. Was there any idea of sacking the c-pawn in some lines? Well, in the Benoni, that's always an idea. But what a lot of people don't realize is, like, the long-term ramifications of that sort of thing are massive. If you play c4 at some point, you no longer have that key pawn on c5. You no longer have control of d4. So any variations that incorporate c4 are very risky, And the last thing I just want to say about this position, what's so important is the pawn structure. It's really very important. This chain that white has, our problem is that it's very hard to break that. That chain interferes with everything that black tries to do. And your only way to break the chain is by playing f5, which is also inherently very risky. So Arsenal here goes rook e8, and that's the third most common move. I'll be honest, like, there's some games here with b6, which I never really like. b6 feels slow. I know the plan is to, like, trade pieces sometimes with bishop a6. But Velimirovich, this is an active move. It makes sense. But at the same time, it's not developmental. And we still have all three of these pieces over here. So Brian Smith losing to Romanov. I have no idea where that game could have been. Horvath Jozef, 1987 against Tolnai. And Tolnai was, and is still around, but former teammate of mine. He was a huge Benoni advocate because of Perani Bela, Smirin, Velimirovich, Ginda, and a few others. Alright, so that's an interesting idea. If knight g4, h3, let's see what happens. Knight e5, and now white doesn't have to preserve this bishop. But you have to argue that, if the idea is to go like f4, it makes sense, right? Bishop c2. Now what does black do? Do you try to play f5 if you're Velimirovich, right? Do you want to play f5 if we can play knight f4? Speaking of which, Arsenal fan, if we can have that. So the main move for black here seems to be knight a6. Idea knight b4. But, I mean, sometimes knight c7, I don't know. This is like almost like a waiting move. f4. And then knight c4 in thin air. The air is getting really thin up here. But this is Ivan Ivanovic when he was young, in 1997. Against Velimirovich. So interesting line, anyway. Rook e8, though. Now, rook e8 can't be bad. But I'm a little bit worried about f7, right? Arsenal fan? I mean, if like f45 hits, sometimes they're going to be like, well, or f7. I don't think that rook e8 can be bad, but it also doesn't develop the minor pieces. I'm mostly concerned about like how we're doing the queen side. The dogmatic thing is like a6, but if you do a6, you automatically get a4, and then your knight has nowhere to go. Now this is kind of automatic, right? Here, here. If f4, now what? Yeah, I mean, it's hard to come up with a plan. The idea of c5, c4, like was mentioned earlier, is going to come in. So the idea, yeah, there's a mention of knight a6, knight c7. Prepare for f5 and b5. So knight c7 covers e6. In some cases where you might play f5 later. Sure. Possible. I have zero experience playing this. For either side. So here, again, we need to talk to Yasser. But here there's the game. The top game is Pinter, who I did a little bit of training with. One of the only other people besides like Jinji who I ever like trained with. And yeah, and Yoji had a funny story. This might be the game. He had a draw with Kasparov, but he said he tortured him for a long time, like on purpose. Kasparov was really pissed. It was a draw, but Pinter wouldn't agree to a draw, and Kasparov was making faces and like doing all kinds of crazy shit, and Yoshi just wouldn't give him a draw just because it was too much fun to like make Kasparov angry. Probably it's that game. I mean, I don't know how many times they played, but it's funny. So, anyways, yeah, I mean, getting this against Kasparov is a pretty good idea because you got the Kasparov King's Indian player who's not really a Benoni player. You know what I mean? You get this position in the Benoni. Kasparov got this out of a King's Indian. Maybe some tricky move order by White. I don't know, you know. All right, so anyway, rook e8, h3, and this is Pinter Kasparov. So black did play c4. c4 is very concrete. You force the bishop to move, and you enable yourself to play b5. I had a game like that with the Fermian in a different line. You know, black plays c4, bishop c2, b5, and, you know, you can't take on b5 because we take on e4. But I think the problem is, even if you get in c4, the question is it worth it? Tourist, Zach Sektra. I think the word you're looking for was tourist. Wasn't it tourist he called Shirov? But I don't know. All right, I might be wrong. Bishop c2. It tortured him. He like played 100 moves or something. It was like really like embarrassing for Kasparov. So I don't know about c4. It looks like the best scoring move here is knight of bd7 in a small sample size. This is Pinter Kasparov. Another Pinter game where he lost against Furchech much later in 97, and then Rainier Knack 1973. So you'd have to. I could ask Pinter if I could get a hold of him. Who the influence of this variation really was. Anyways, h3. So c4 is a move. They don't want to take, I would assume. So Prohashka played a game in 2011. I don't know who his coach was. It could be Pinter, but I'm not sure. But Prohashka beat me in a... he beat me in one of these. It was actually... that's probably how it could have happened, right? So if you go back to the opening, how could Kasparov get this position right? Okay, now it makes sense. So c4, g6, knight c3, bishop g7, e4, d6. So it must have been a bishop d3. That's how this happened. Pinter probably played this line. Yasser has played it a lot. So Kasparov probably played a Benoni, and they got this. This would have been the way that it happens. This is how you get Kasparov. You know, okay. In that time, the line wasn't that well known. Probably that was the move order. So Prohashka has a game against me, like, yeah, around the same time, 2011. Maybe a little bit earlier, 2009. Probably around 2009. So Prohashka wins a game with bishop takes c4. Okay, this is counterintuitive. Because you think, like, well, why would giving up the central pawn be a good idea for white? Seems like black would be okay after that. You know? Very strange. He goes on to win the game with bishop b3. I mean, maybe... I mean, you're almost asking for an exchange sack here. I'm very suspicious of white's play in this game. Knight takes c3. Knight takes c3. Okay, this is probably too much. Even that would be like hard for white to win. But how much is white better in this position in reality? Knight d7? I don't believe it. You know, rook c1. This is bullshit for white. Surprised he's that much better. Oh, the dude sacked the exchange now. Oh my god. Yasmin Beitovich? Never heard of him. That's crazy. A 2400 I never heard of? Named Yasmin? Yasmin could be... It's one of those weird names that could be a male or a female name. So they couldn't resist and they sacked the exchange. Yeah, that's fine for blitz game. You got to control yourself. You know, this is why the guy lost. This is why the guy lost. He did this fancy exchange sacrifice. He didn't have to. White has no pawn roller. You know, I don't think that white has much. If this guy was smart, he wouldn't sack the exchange and he would just, like, play very solid. You know, it would be hard not to play. Different position. I don't know, man. You know, I don't really. I think the static structure is really nothing for white. Like A6 and I, I just can't really imagine that white is better here. You know, if I'm playing a higher rated player Arsenal fan, I'm not sacking the exchange here. I'm tempted. If it's a blitz game, maybe. But I think it's just too hard for white to do anything now. There's no pawn breaks. It's like, yeah, if you're a computer, you know, another interesting name. Um, Actually, no, there's another German player by the name of Morani, who's a Yasmin. He's actually, yeah, he has a weird name. It's Karl. That's a classic German first name, right? Karl Yasmin Morani, which is very interesting because Morani is 100% Hungarian. It's a Hungarian, you know, family name. So Karl Yasmin plus there's another Hungarian name which is even more rare, Jacinth. Check that out. You know, like the flower, hyacinth? This guy I met when I moved here in 2004, extremely, extremely rare. Jacinth. Alright, anyway. Male flower names for 300, Bob. Iris. No, I mean, that Balkan stuff is different. This is not Balkan. We're talking about flowers. I mean, hyacinth, Yasmin, whatever is. It's not Salim or something like that. So, all right. Strange move. I agree. I like bishop c2. I don't understand what young, you know, Prohashka is doing. Although I give him credit. He beat me once in this freaking bishop d3, knight d2, king's Indian. I also lost to Kaufman's dad in the same variation. So, I'm like not scoring very well there. But anyways, c4, bishop c2 is principled. And then Turkish names for 400, Mert Erdogdu. I played this guy in the last round of Aeroflot in 2004. Mert Erdogdu. That sounds awkward. If you're translating, you know, Turkish names to English, Erdogdu. I lost in an open Spanish. Okay, so bishop c2. Now Arsenal fan with a surprising move. Problem is, who cares? Surprising, but why not? Okay, so our natural path for the knight is knight d7, knight d5, knight d7, knight c5. Knights before bishops, right, Mr. Coffee? I created an AI account on one AI, Mr. Coffee, and it asks me, like, how should I refer to you? And you know what I told it, right? How would you like me to refer to you? Of course. Sire. So it refers to me as Sire. Sire, how can I help you today? All right. Now, we got bishop c2. So this is an interesting move. Because you can, right? b5 is possible. You're going to have to calculate, you know, knight takes e4. I see dead people. White lost 2 games playing a3 here. And, okay, the one player who won is like a GM. I probably drew with them or lost to them when they were like 12. Let's see, knight takes e4, bishop takes e4, rook takes e4, knight ec3 again. I'm getting Prohaska vibes. This is Matthias Bach. It's a older German FM playing black. But there's an Arbakov game for 2000. Wow. So Elianov Arbakov. Young Elianov before Arbakov croaked. I have Arbakov's story too. He was a famous Russian hustler from Gorky Park. Infamous, I should say. So maybe you're better off not playing b5. You're not well developed. This looks very natural. It's funny that no one played knight d7. I mean, even though I don't see any like concrete objection to this like kind of natural move. The one thing that we would be worried about might be like a6, knight d4. But I mean, even there, our knight is covering, we're covering c6. So no one played a6, and yeah, I don't know. I think it's very hard to choose like how to play this for black. So knight d7, what? Knight h5 looks scary. Knight b5. I don't know, man. I don't think you're looking at the same position as me. You got knight c5 here. Okay, he goes knight c3. No, he's not even defended enough times. No, I don't think he has knight b5. You're saying, yeah, maybe like bishop f4 first. But still, I mean, you could go here. I don't know, man. I think like knight d7 is fully playable. Versus knight a6. I mean, knight d7 doesn't block your a pawn from going to a6. Okay, f4 directly needs to be considered. Here's a game. Here's a game where a 2200 didn't lose against a GM. So you got to admit, knight d7 is also possible. Bishop d7. Arsenal fan playing like Leboyevich. Okay, my only objection to this move is the knight on b8. So I don't mind bishop d7, but you're going to have to promise me you're not going to like delay getting this knight in the game. And we also don't have the knight to control e5. You're in good company. Nikolac played a4, a very obvious move, you know, stopping b5. Your opponent played bishop f4. Not quite as obvious as a4, but okay. There is a question about how to defend this pawn on d6. Or not defend it. Because Suba would say like b5, right? But then bishop takes d6 prevents b4. So a4, Leboyevich plays knight a6, white plays bishop g5, and then black played knight c5, and then white played f4. Wow. Oh shit. Are you kidding me? Black played b5. This is crazy. Bishop takes f6. What is going on? Oh my god. What is going on here? Bishop takes b5. The Sealer sweeper. Wow, this is kind of a weird game. It's just a matter of time till e5 happens. No? Wow, it didn't happen. There's that rook thing. I was afraid of that. But white played very hesitantly. He didn't really do anything. You know, it looks like Leboyevich was like probably too ambitious or something. White was just hanging around. So, okay, bishop f4, this is a new move. And queen b6 is not a great square in the Benoni. Here's another drawback of bishop d7. We obviously don't love queen c7. but that's not a move. So queen e7 or queen c7 or Tao's favorite bishop f8. All right, queen c7. Now if knight d4, we'll have to play a6, I assume. That's what happened. Now he plays a4. And we have nowhere for our knight. I told you. You ended up playing bishop c8. Uh-huh. Well, I mean, I think you should consider it immediately. Admit your mistake, right? Arsenal's always been one who loves to admit his mistakes. Queen c5, bishop e3. Now here you could go like total Potzer style, threatening pseudo sacrifices on h3. But even if you sacrifice, White would have like queen f3 or something, so it's probably bullshit. This is effectively a draw offer. And then White says, no, I don't want to draw. a5. Bishop c8. Now you're like forced to face the threat of that. And White played bishop a4. Now not a knight a4, bishop a4. There's something weird about that a little bit. Now you have to be very tempted to sack the exchange because you're an Arsenal fan. And I don't know the circumstances of this game. But, again, I think it's probably unsound. You're down the exchange, Rooks are worth more than minor pieces. But, it's, again, something that you could probably play in a blitz game for fun. However, if we don't have rook takes c4, we're a little bit uncomfortable. Okay, you want knight d7. Fine. That's better. Queen c2. White's playing very solidly. Rook e7. I figured that was going to happen. But you have to consider also rook f8. Rook e7. See, you're really going to have to watch out for these tactics based on d6. Here, the opponent, though, playing like Nikolach. Okay, if f4... This dude's put his bishop on a4. Well, you're going here, White's playing e5. But I don't know. I mean, does it even do anything? It just looks like a pawn sacrifice, ultimately. Pawn takes, queen takes, rook ae1 or something. It doesn't look like White has enough. I mean, maybe this or something weird. No, that hangs a bishop. So it doesn't look like it quite works. So anyway, okay, your opponent doesn't play f4. f4 is risky, right? Bishop g5. And now, obviously, you can play h6. But if you play h6, White will probably play bishop h4. And you don't want to do this because of knight f5. So, h6 might be useful, but it also weakens your king side. So I can see not wanting to play it. Sometimes, rook e5. You can sack the exchange here for the dark square bishop. As I'm sure you're aware of, these type of ideas are certainly in the in the realm of possibility. But we're so short of space here, I'm beginning to wonder. This would be great if it was for the fact that this could be protected by something, maybe queen d8. We need like another move. How do we defend f7? This is looking really bad. This would be great except for this. And we're like losing a piece. The knight on d4 is hanging. But he protects it with queen f2. That's such a bitch. That's a big problem. You're assuming h6 bishop f6? Well, that's what that other guy did. H6, bishop F6. That's what the other guy did. I mean, I can't believe that guy did that against Blagojevich and won. You know, he gave up his dark square bishop. Very major concession. But Blagojevich was famous for being uncompromising and stuff. You know, I mean, I think he probably just pushed too hard, trying to win. I can't imagine White giving up the dark square bishop here. You have to play bishop h4. But I'm not sure that h6 really helps you, you know, ultimately. So, knight c5, and then if I'm white, I would prefer to defend the pawn with a rook or something. But this is starting to look problematic. Okay. I don't like f3, though. I mean, he's weakening his dark squares so bad. Why not this? Oh, okay, you got knight d3? Well, still, it's... Yeah, this whole bishop a4 thing isn't really working out. Shit. Well, I mean, the more I think about it, yeah, the less I'm liking White's position here. You know, honestly, he has to consider taking that knight. Probably not that bad. Which way do you recapture? With the bishop, I suppose. You should be fine. Another rook coming to e8. But maybe that's better than what happened in the game. When is the next analysis session? It's now. The next one is next week. So I got a game from Redrector. Thanks, Arsenal fan, for the gift subs earlier. Alright, get PGN. Oh no. Blitz game from Evil Chess Site. My favorite. So this is an interesting game. As usual, there's more questions than answers. This is Arsenal fan with black in a tournament game recently. But this very strange maneuver, I've never seen anyone do like bishop a4. And it looked kind of weird, but I thought I'll go with it, you know. But I mean, ultimately that bishop should be on c2, securing the e4 pawn. Okay, so he goes here, you go here, he goes here, you go here, and he plays f3. Now I just see a lot of weaknesses on the dark squares. Now obviously it's not so easy for you to take advantage of that. But the other thing is like how weird his bishop is. What is it doing out on a4? The only thing that does is like keep your having a rook on e8, you know, which is kind of a minor thing. He's got d3 weak. He's made all these pawn moves. His d4 knight is unprotected. I mean, you obviously can sack the exchange now. You took the pawn on a5, holy shit, but knight takes e4? So this is extremely tempting, right? Knight takes e4. Bishop takes e7. Bishop takes d4. Check. Now he has to go to h2. What the heck is going on here? I think, you know, you might be okay. Bishop e5 check. For example. f4. The heck is going on? Bishop takes c3. There you're like winning two pieces for the rook. You can't calculate that. That's bullshit. You calculate quite well. I've seen you calculate. I've played against you. In Blitz you calculate that well. Come on. Now he takes... Okay, there's other possibilities. He could go here. Yeah, it's true. He could go here, you know, it gets kind of weird after that. But it's going to boil down at some point. It's going to boil down at some point, too. Like, you're basically sacking the exchange, but you have a shitload of compensation. You'll end up in some position like this. I mean, dude, you have this like, killer bishop on g7, and his king is weak, and you sack the exchange. You know, it's kind of like standard. But I admit, it's like hard to decide. It's hard to decide. But, I mean, it's his best minor piece. You sack your rook for that bishop. You get a big pawn for it. This one on e4. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I would be very, very interested in using some time to calculate this. So instead you took on a5. This looks greedy, but it's extremely straightforward. It's just like, thanks for the free pawn. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. If there's nothing complicating here, this is also better than what I was suggesting. White comes up with a fantastic idea, though. Knight c6. Alright. So we might be, like, forced to sack the exchange. Not really, though, because you have knight b3 at the end. So let's say take, queen b6. Bishop takes a8, knight b3 check. Maybe you could just win the exchange right back. So that's what happened. Take, queen b6. You're expecting bishop takes a8, and then you would play like knight b3 check. He can offer a trade of queens, for example. I don't know. Queen f2, king f2. Knight takes a1, rook takes a1. Rook a7, bishop c6. White has a better structure. Yeah, he's winning here. That's the pawn chain in action, you know? That's the freaking problem. You end up with this broken queenside. This variation, for example, it looks like it's okay. Do you see knight c6? I imagine missing it. You know, I would have missed it. It's a weird shot. So you could also sack the exchange, like queen c7, but this isn't as good. Still, it's a little awkward for white. And I think even here you have some compensation, but not enough. So you got to take it. He plays queen there. Now, why is he taking this? What, you have knight takes e4? Oh, all right, sorry. Sorry, it doesn't work. All right. Let's double check, though. Knight takes e4 check. King h1. We need to double check this. King h2. King h2. Knight takes g5 and your knight is trapped on g5. But only by h4. So Velimir should be having like a field day here. We are all one with Velimirovich. Bishop f5. I don't. Yeah, this looks really dangerous for white. Yes, winning. So okay, you flat out, you know, he saw it. Queen b6, bishop takes a8. This wins. This just wins. So is there any other way he could play it? I mean, he could do something desperate like bishop takes f6. Try to just take right away so he doesn't lose a piece at the end. For example, bishop takes f6, bishop takes f6, bishop takes a8, and then what? Then you win the exchange with knight here check. Now it's a different story. You have two bishops and you're just better. Like knight takes a1, rook takes a1. I mean, now you're clearly better. So okay, so his knight c6 thing probably doesn't work, right? Takes, queen b6, and now he has to come up with this move. But he's down. He's down a piece here. He's down a piece. Yeah. He's down a piece. And his move doesn't work like knight a4. But why not rook b8? I just kind of like where your bishop is. I mean, I understand his bishop on c6 is strong, and your move is probably fine. But I think this is good too. So you played bishop b7, and that's protected. And knight a4 is always met by queen b3. And that's weird. You played queen b4. But why? Your queen is trapped? There's no way your queen is trapped. Doesn't queen b3 look good? I mean, what's he going to do? He, like, has to take. Take. Move his rook somewhere. And you're just up a piece for nothing, you know? So I think queen b3 is good. You play queen b4. To me, that seems a little dangerous because he's going to shatter your pawn structure. I mean, you're up a piece, I know, but still. Bishop takes c6. He has an in-between move. Knight takes a6. I'm not loving that. Rook takes a6. Now it's two pieces for the rook. It's two pieces for rook and pawn. This is a whole different ball game. This shouldn't have happened. I mean, yeah, if you go queen b3, I don't see what he's got. Isn't he just, like, lost? Okay, what's he going to do? Takes. The problem is his knight's hanging on a1, too. Even if he does something weird like that. You know, he doesn't have time to do this. You're just going to take his rook, you know? I mean, he can't really threaten anything. So knight takes a6. Yeah. You have a better move here? Well, you had queen b5, something patient. Queen b5. Calculation. The tension was getting to Arsenal fan. Well, if you haven't played in a while, you might find yourself affected by tension. So this is impatient. Rook a6, and now you have this move I didn't see. Bishop takes d5. Okay, this is an important move though. I mean, you're up two pieces now, because right now at this moment he had, like, enough material, but because of this move, bishop takes d5, suddenly the equation changes. Arsenal is just bishop and knight for a rook. Plus he knocked out the guy's most important pawn. Not a minor detail. This is white's most important pawn. The heart of his nasty same-ish pawn chain, you know? That's a big, big blow. That may be enough to justify rook takes a6 ultimately, you know? Bishop d2 doesn't float. Check. Doesn't change anything. And now you're hunting his king. But I mean, you're up a decisive material advantage here. Though it's not an easy conversion. You even have to look at ultraviolent ideas. Knight e4, but no. Unfortunately, not quite. So if it's a blitz game, I would err on the side of caution. But you came up with a pretty direct attacking plan. You're going to have to watch a8 and some back rank stuff. But you're threatening knight g3. It's pretty straightforward. Rook fa1. So now you got back rank, but you've got the bishop covering it. So you can play bishop e5, no? If you go here, what's the point? Like, you don't have a mate? Let's just say pawn takes. Well, you might not have a mate directly. Check. King here. Yeah, I don't know. This doesn't look clear. Alright. So you played knight check here. Now what? Now bishop e5. Well, that's basically the same thing, isn't it? Okay, so explain to me what happens after pawn takes. What's the draw? Surely we're not taking a draw. So we've got to find a way to win. Knight f1, double check, king h1, queen f2, bishop h6 is a nasty. Then we have a really nice retort, like check. Did you call me a retort? Did you call me a retort? Knight f5. Check. Wait, who is checking who? Yeah, you're actually winning here. It looks like it's a draw. Wait, why? Why can't I just take on h6? What? Oh, the queen's hanging. Duh. Oh my god, it doesn't matter. Oh my god, that's a draw. Oh no. Oh my god, it is a draw there. Oh my god. Dude, fuck, it's a draw. So you fucked up here. This is a draw. But you have to be winning here. You have to be winning here. Oh my god. How do we do this? You know, one move that needs to be seriously considered for you is like Quietville. It's slow, but I mean, okay. No, realistically, come on. What if we just go like bishop e7 or something? We're winning. I mean, it's important that we have this. Like, check, takes, bishop f8, bishop h6, and knight g7. Obviously, that's very important. Because if not, you know, it doesn't work. But since he doesn't have anything immediately, you know. So I could see you getting in time pressure here. And, like, freaking out. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So I think here, you know, if you're in time pressure, I forgive you for this. But this looks like the kind of thing where you just fling the moves out there in a blitz game and then realize, like, oh shit, it's only a draw. Like, I wasn't sure. I also am not sure if you should play bishop e5 first. If you play bishop e5 first, you have a square for your king. So he has to go here, allow this insanity, and go there. And then it's like, knight f5 doesn't work? It's just a draw. No, it does work here. Okay, so he has to take the bishop. Not bishop h6. But in the game, this is what happened, and white played f4. Well, now he loses his back rank crap. Without the back rank stuff, he has no counterplay. So you got like queen f2 and bishop takes e4, right? Yeah. Bishop takes e4 and then in, and you're going to be threatening him on g2. So he sacked his queen here. This is crazy. Yeah. That's a pity for the guy, though, you know. He basically hung in there, and he actually could have saved the game. It's amazing this is a draw, though. I mean, what I'm interested in is, like, how do you objectively try to win this? f4 is a blunder. After e takes d5. I mean, here you're sitting there, you're like, God, this has to be winning for black somehow. And the computer is like 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 5 different lines. Depth 25. But that doesn't mean that in a human game, These are depth 25. There's got to be traps that white can fall for here. You know? It's 5 pawns each. You have a very good exchange sack. I mean, come on, you know? Your practical chances have to be way better than 0.0 in this position, is what I'm trying to say. Like, if it's your move... Well, he's starting f4. This is a problem. Otherwise, you know, you're definitely winning. If you had time to play h5, but f4. It's a long-term exchange sack. Whoa, can you do this? What? King takes g3? Holy shit, bro, look at that. This is the best line we found so far. King back. He can't take the knight on g3 because of rook e2. Talk about Velimirovich. So, for example, like h5. I mean, this would be a great move to play if you could... Okay, no. After he takes... Here. After takes... If you play h5... White, you know... With white's flags hanging, he plays f4. You just go back. You see this idea with rook e2, and then white like loses on time, where he probably plays like, okay, rook a8 check, king h7. Now what is he gonna do? White to play with his flag hanging in this position. Fuck, bro. I mean, this is really hard. I take black anytime. He gets mated if he takes on g3 with rook e2. He's like crushed. This is a beautiful line. This is your best chance. He has rook e1, and even here you have some cool stuff like rook e2. Oh my god. Rook e2, knight e2. Only a computer could defend this position for white, seriously. You'd have to be a computer. Rook a1. I mean, you have enough material for the exchange already. You know, this is really hard for white. All right, I got another message. Competition ready? Your Cafe Chessmaster, okay. So you're a subscriber. The cat is here. That's new. The cat is not a subscriber. Saxec Draw is here. Practicing always and competition ready. Are you related? Very serious, like, usernames. Competition ready. Practicing always. Okay, Arsenal fan, fun game. Not perfect, but just good enough. So this is Iatan. I've also got a game of Morales, but he's not usually here for the streams, so I'm saving that one. All right. So this is Iatan. His opponent, I don't know, his opponent is from Venezuela or something. Have oil, need democracy. Oh, maybe they're from the United States, actually. Alright. It could be either Venezuela. It could be a lot of countries, really. Saudi Arabia. Alright, so we're white. Iatan playing white, it's b3. Black plays g6. Bishop e2, knight f6. And then, you know, I don't think that bishop takes f6 is best. You know, I think that it's a concession. But it's a scheme, you know, you play it like a Tory attack. Or Trompowsky, rather. Totally playable if you want to play that way. But objectively, it's probably not. It's probably equal. Well, once again, you know, I want to just triple down on this whole thing about the engines. I have another student who's like really addicted to the engine. Engine, 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 engine. And it's just like, we have to stop treating the engines like they're people, you know? We cannot take the engine's valuation and be like, applying it to us, because it doesn't, you know? We are not computers. We are not capable of calculating 25 moves deep, despite whatever, you know, Sexac Shaw believes about Hikaru. I mean, in general, these evaluations are the computer. It applies to it, the computer, not to us. We can take general approximations, though, you know. General approximations. The general the better. But, you know, bishop takes f6 is totally dependent on you as a style, you know, for your style of play. Do not base your decision whether to play that on whether or not Stockfish thinks it's the best move. That's totally the wrong idea. You're putting too much emphasis on engine stuff. So knight f3 is good. Bishop g7, g3. Okay, it's a hypermodern opening. Double fianchetto. c4, bishop b7, bishop g2, castle, castle. Now black decides to play d6. I would say c5. You know, c5 is objectively best. d5 might be a move. But d6 is okay too. The best move for white now is probably d4. That's what you played. It's not the hypermodern style, though. Again, because Stockfish says d4 is the best move, doesn't mean it's the best move for a person. Right, the French winning for white 10 years ago. Well, right. I mean, computers are so good at playing with space advantage. It's the same thing with the King's Indian Arsenal fan. Like, the King's Indian is just like -1. It's like terrible for black. Sure. If you're a computer, that applies. If you're not a computer, you get mated, like playing the white side of the King's Indian Classical against Hikaru, for example. Okay, d4, but d3 is also, you know, a move, and knight c3 is also a move. So d4, it's now a King's Indian double fianchetto, which I've played for black quite a bit. Black black usually waits. If you play knight c3, we see like knight e4. One question here for black is if he tries to play c5. Okay, my question is, if black were to try and play c5, how strong is d5? This is reminding me of a game I had recently where I didn't play d5. Chigayev versus Bortnik, 2016. A very old Nepomniachtchi game. Black has the two breaks. Actually, we just looked at a game like this, Asterbate Rady against Rubinstein. But Rady was white and had an extra tempo in this kind of situation. You know, b5 is interesting. Ivanchuk. Total Rady idea. Right? Asterbate exactly what we saw. Where Rady traded flank pawn for a central pawn. And pawn takes pawn. What Nepomniachtchi did here is straight out of that game. With colors reversed. Problem is, I introduced you to e4. Oh no. That's not supposed to happen. That's not supposed to happen. That didn't happen in Rady versus Rubinstein. That's a problem. No, we have to get that pawn. If we don't get the pawn, it's not going to work. So that's an old game. You know, they were young. They were just kids. So d4, knight on bd7. Now, this is very important. Do you go here or here? Or other? Notice there's some tricky players here playing queen c2. That's like threatening to play knight c3 and knight d2. And then what does black do? Stick the bishop on e4? Because it's not that easy to say. This is interesting. But I think that your continuation here is is a tough decision. This is still possible, too. Muxudlu. But knight c3 is like my go-to. I would play knight c3, knight e4, and then, I don't know what I would do. That's what I would do with black. So you play knight d2. Now the question, can black play knight e4 here? It's a different story. Can black exchange pieces here? It's okay. Redusa, are you out there somewhere? The computers love this h4 stuff, and you see Redusa doing it. And I have some accelerated Queen's Indians that went like that. Why do you have a health bar? It's a great question. Health bar is a little game we have that is like what we call the stream boss. So the health bar goes down. It's my health bar now. But if enough people tip and donate, like Saxide Draw tipped $3 an hour ago, my health goes down. And if my health goes down to 0, someone else becomes the stream boss. We just put this in. It's a brand new feature. So we haven't had it happen yet that someone else becomes stream boss. So who's the final boss? I'm down to 3,000 health or something like that. Can anybody see? Because Saxide Draw donated $3. That's going to take it down a little bit. Okay, so knight d2, it's not so common to play knight e4. So black needs to play like e6. That's what he did. But I mean, objectively, black should also consider e5. I guess it's losing a pawn. I'm not sure. Takes, and then pin it and win it. You know, sometimes tactics of this nature might work, but I don't think in this case they do. So e6 is basically a way of playing for e5. e6, rook e1, reasonable. And now there's a game where black played c5. That's exactly what your opponent played. Pretty accurate guy for an 1800. And now you played the exact move played in the one game where this position has been played. Both of you guys are just hitting the exact moves from this game in 2018. Kind of unusual and surprising. I'll be honest though, I mean, we have to consider e4. That's more obvious. I mean, there's some weaknesses of the dark squares. But I mean, it looks like you're playing for e4. This was a 2286 playing against a GM in 2018, you know. Objectively, e4 might be better. This is a very conservative move. One advantage is you might be able to put your queen on e2. I don't like the queen on c2 with the rook coming to c8. But honestly, you really have to strongly consider e4. Now it's a Sicilian. Pawn takes pawn. Probably knight takes. It's a hedgehog. How's our hedgehog? Normal. Normal hedgehog. Knight on suboptimal square. And normally I guess it would be here on c3. There's also the bishop on b2 versus like c1, h6 diagonal. Alright, anyway, so e3 very conservative. Now black exchanges on d4. Rosem didn't do that. But anytime you exchange pawns, you release the tension in the opening. I think you need to say, well, why are you doing that? Why would me donating me decrease? Why would me donating me? You're going to donate you? Why would me donating decrease the stream health? It's not stream health. It's my health. It's like a game. It's like Drown the Clown or something like that, you know. You knock me down. It's like you take me out. Nobody said it was logical, but I kind of get it, you know. It's not stream health. It's sledgy health. And then when it goes down to 0, you become the stream boss, and someone else can take it from you. It's like King of the Hill, right? It's basically King of the Hill. Okay, so he takes, but why? I think taking is okay. Now, if you take back with the pawn, black has d5. Although it's not obligé. This is going to be the dynamic now. You can donate and make my health go up. If you donate and make my health go up, it'll just go up indefinitely. It'll never go down. I'd have like unlimited health. Anyways, so you could play like very conservative here. This is more aggressive. Now black needs to seriously consider d5. The problem is you can get, oh man, this guy who played like a computer against me in my simul. Yeah, he had this sort of thing, although it was a slightly different setup. It's kind of annoying for black, you know. How does he get out of it after 95? Alright, so he doesn't want to do that. That's fine. The only thing is that you might have d5 yourself. I mean, d5 as a pawn sacrifice is plausible, right? Black plays a6 like a typical hedgehog. The thing is, it's not a hedgehog, right? Black's playing a hedgehog, but white's not playing a hedgehog. If it's a hedgehog, our pawn is on e4. It's like a Marazzi, right? Knight d5, queen c7. Well, I feel uncomfortable about c7, Arsenal fan, because of the usual like c-file business. No. I was actually going to suggest e7, but then again, that's uncomfortable too. Yeah, this is, where do we put our queen? I mean, I guess you would objectively go like rook c8 and then do the ready thing, right? Or you can do, yeah, rook c8, right? We got to watch out for that and always have like a flight score for a rook. But let's say rook c1, rook c7, and then queen a8. Bishop here, rook e8, bishop d6. That's awkward. So maybe not rook c7. So like you're saying, queen c7 makes some sense. But after rook c1, what do we do? We could have some problems now. I mean, you could do this. Maybe you give up, you release the tension at some point, yeah. And eventually we go into this kind of thing. And, you know, then it's a different story. I think that black is fine. Now it's hanging pawns and they look a little bit unimpressive. Alright, a6. So queen c7, okay? So do we have this at some point? Maybe, but not here. Well, white really needs a knight on c3 for this to work. Takes. What do we get? Well, maybe we get something. What do I get for this donation? Wow, Anon has tipped 1177. I accidentally donated on your PayPal instead, and you did lose hit points. F. What do you guys think F stands for? Anybody? 1177. Anon has tipped. I accidentally donated on your PayPal instead, and you didn't lose hit points. Capital F. You think that's his first initial? Who is F, anyway? His first name has 4 letters. Oh, that's the trick. But anyway, it's the thought that counts. That's good. More hit points for me. Anon will have to try again. Yeah, so I mean, I'm just not seeing anything concrete with this pawn sack, but I just want to point out the idea, right? So a6, rook c1. Whoa. All right, so maybe this is a situation where b5 should be subject to. Uh-oh. So a4 or b4. a4 or b4. The dynamic changed here. With a4, we have several options, like b5 takes, or maybe pushing. Or with b4, obviously the plan would be, to push the protected passer to c5 on any kind of break. Asterbait. That wasn't you, was it? I don't know. I don't know if it was Asterbait or not. 1177, making it around 141.55. So, okay, I think this is a mistake. And after b5, well, maybe not. Okay, actually, there's one question. c5. The only move that scares me for black is c5. Shoving that passed pawn down our throat. This is unclear. Maybe enough to scare me. Yeah, c5 is the best move. I was scared of c5. It is the best move for white. Again, according to the engine. But it feels like the best move to me. I mean, I don't exactly see how black's supposed to deal with this, We're kind of threatening to take, and we're threatening to push. It's not easy to deal with that. Can you blockade? Like takes, bishop c6 or something? Or maybe a different methodology, I don't know. But instead he played bishop a3. Also a reasonable looking move, for white. This is probably a blitz game. And, maybe 98. That really paralyzes that rook, though. Okay, so queen b6 is really bad. So it's hard to defend d6. Yeah, the more you look at it, it looks like bishop a3 is reasonable. I guess queen b8. Shit, I thought queen b8. The computer doesn't seem to mind queen b6, but how the heck does that work? Just allowing the c5? I guess there's a defense, like a tactical one. You go here. You take, and queen a5. Threatening b4. So if knight b1, b4, and black is better. Probably. Even that. It could be some weird defense. This actually holds for white. Queen d2 is a good move. This isn't that clear. So after c5, black should not take but play queen a5 right away. And now if knight b1, yeah, it's still a battle. Instead here, that's a terrible square for the knight. Yeah, as we know, it's like almost never a good square. I like to call this distant redundancy, right? Here the knights are redundant, but here we have distant redundancy. All right, knight b6, knight on knight 3, usually bad, but it's a target to c5. I mean, this is likely to be a problem. So you went c5 right away. Black takes, and now, taking with the bishop leaves you with a bad structure, so pawn takes. You're threatening, and you're threatening c6 as well, and c6 wins material. And now you're just winning material, you're winning the exchange. So if he doesn't take on c5, well, it makes a huge difference, right? Here, c6, bishop c8, and d6 is defended and c7 is blockaded. So it's not clear that white should push after knight d5. You can take. Maybe you should take. But position actually doesn't look so convincing. So this is a huge blunder by black, and now you're just winning. And this is just, yeah, I mean, you're up the exchange for nothing, you know. Trading pieces probably fine. Again, trading pieces is a good idea. What about mate? Queen h6, bishop f8. So you sacked the exchange here unnecessarily. There's nothing. Yeah, so he should have taken with the queen, obviously. Nothing to defend his kingside at all after knight takes. So queen h6 looks very scary, threatening knight g5. How does black defend? That's not good. You know, maybe f6. Pretty horrifying, honestly. Hard to believe that black could survive here. Is it possible your move is better? You have this, but I mean black has rook a7. This is really, yeah, this is going too far. So black needs to come up with some kind of reasonable defense, but it's hard. He's pinned to that knight. Yeah, I mean, that's a big advantage here. You do have him in that pin. I mean, that's pretty awkward. Yeah, he can't get out of it. Another move is like knight g5. He's lost. I mean, his pawn is super strong. Let's mate. Yeah, okay, good game. All right, we got Morales up. c7, yeah, c7 is right away. Yeah, c7 logical. I mean, we've got queen d8 check. So rook a7 loses a piece to queen d8 check. It looks good. It looks good. I mean, this isn't playable. It looks like black is kind of in Zugzwang. Yeah, I think black is just lost. I mean, bishop b7. Bishop b7 might resist a little bit, but I don't think so. It doesn't matter. All right. So next up was I didn't put in competition ready. Okay. We'll save Morales for last. This is Cave House Chess Junkie. Is he not here? Did I like chat ban him or something? Cave Chess was here, right? Oh, there's no game. I didn't put it in. All right, well, let's try this again. Add a new chapter. Okay. Delete chapter. Try again. If at first you don't succeed, there it failed again. So my PGN is bad. This is probably what happened to you earlier, Asterbait. Make sure when you copy a PGN, if you copy and paste, you don't leave anything out. If the slightest thing is like left out, one little bracket or something, it won't work. Because I could have gotten a bad PGN. Okay, I added the text in the beginning. The text in the beginning messed me up. It's not my fault. It's like Trump sewage scandal. All right, study. It's not Trump's fault that Washington D.C. is flooded with sewage. No, delete chapter. Okay. Add a new chapter. Paste. Create chapter. Now it works. Yay. Alright, so I Am White versus 2000 FIDE. This is from Cafe Chess Junkie. Otherwise known as Competition Ready. $2,000 FIDE. Three weeks ago, I played a 2080 who was he's a FIDE master and like 8 years older than me, 7 years older than me, and he's 2080. Okay, his max rating was like 2315, and he's 60 years old, and he's like dropped down to 2080. But I'll be honest, there's a big difference between, it's the same as online. I mean, 2000 FIDE could mean like a stupid kid who's like 1700, who had some lucky tournaments and his K factor's 40, and he has potential, but he's not that good. Or it could be like an old experienced player who's gone down, to 2080 from 2300. We'll call the FM a 2100. Okay, he was 2087 or something. But anyway, we'll say he's 2100. So there's a big difference between 2100 and 2000. 2000, it's a big variation in playing strength, probably. 2000 from India is like I am strength. 2000 in Hungary is probably like an old national master. 2000 in the United States, FIDE, is also possibly as strong as National Master. How about in the UK, Arsenal fan? What would you say about ECF 2000? How strong would you say they are? C4, E6, like you're an ECF 2000? So you're pretty close, okay? Because I think in the U.S., I'm seeing a lot of people who are like grossly, stronger than their FIDE rating by USCF. So guys who are like 2190 U.S. might be 2000 FIDE. You could have up to a 200-point differential between U.S. and FIDE. But I think it's the same thing that happens in India. The problem is, like, you get all these little kids, coming in with, like, ratings of 600 and shit. And they're, like, eating their way up and, like, destroying people's ratings in the process. The rating system was never built to withstand that. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is when you send me a description of the game, I'm White versus 2000 FIDE. We have no idea what to expect. Okay. Depends if it's a kid. If it's older, it's more stable. K factors. Bishop G2, C6. Knight F3. I like this setup. Kind of makes you wonder, like, Black has played C6 and E6 and, like, D takes C4. DC4 is funny, isn't it? It's a funny move. Think about this move, really. Like, from a broader perspective, right? Black is playing, like, C6 and E6 ostensibly to support D5. And now the number one move for black among strong players is no boom style, d takes c4. And if you think about it, it's a little bit weird. Because you're like, well, black just seemed to reinforce d5 with his last two moves, and now he's trading off d5. So, this is kind of like trying to grab the pawn, I think, and hang on to it, more or less. But it just feels kind of weird, and so I'm not surprised that if you, like, look at the master database here, right? Look at the master database. 79 games. The most games are with d takes c4. The second most games are with knight f6. So, what do you guys want to bet if we look at Lichess? There's going to be thousands of games, or at least hundreds and hundreds of games, and we're not going to talk about the alien gambit, okay, bro? The Manson gambit. YouGov poll. Lichess, the number one move is not d takes c4. Not even close. Not even close. 262,000 games with knight f6. 107 with the insipid f5. The Stonewall is very popular. And then finally, 51,000 with d takes c4. But I admit, like, this move it's a very counterintuitive move. It also seems illogical to protect, d5 twice and then trade it off. So knight f6, castles, bishop e7, and now we transpose to the Catalan. But not just any Catalan. It's a Slavolan. Slavolan or Catalan, like a closed Catalan where c6 has already been played. If they want to play in Slav style, the bishop should be on d6. Or semi-Slav style, right? Then the bishop has to be on d6. So black's only option here, well, not only option, black's best option is to play for castles b6, bishop b7. And the only other option for black, because taking on c4 is also counterintuitive now, suboptimal, I would imagine. It's a suboptimal semi-Slav. The Dutch, you can go like here and turn it into a kind of like Stonewall Dutch. So black should not, give up. No knight e4, no takes a c4. Just go b6 and bishop b7. So you can see I got to get away from the Lichess database there. Okay. So the main move is queen c2. Here with ideas of rook d1. That's a normal plan. b3 is totally solid, safe. I prefer knight c3. I had a game with this guy, Sabo Balaj. He's a FIDE master years ago. I got like nothing. Playing like knight c3, b6, queen c2, bishop a6, knight e5, I think, or maybe rook d1, knight e5. Something like this. Okay, but knight on bd2 is a little bit passive. It's fine, but it's just a little bit passive. Safe variation. Now the best move is b6. I think it's more flexible than playing knight on bd7. And it's your bigger issue for black is really like what to do with that bishop. I mean, the fact that you might be able to go to a6 in some lines, or even a5 and bishop a6 is a huge idea. It's a riskier way to play, but also, a little bit more active. So, after knight on bd7, they're still going to end up playing b6 in most cases anyway. But the problem is, c6 is a little bit weaker. Queen c2, b6. And so now the most common move is e4. You know, I've probably had this position like a lot of times in blitz. b3, rook d1, and e4. I would imagine I would have played all three. Another move that you see sometimes is like, you might see like a4, usually after b3. Maybe a4 will come in later. But that's it. I mean, I lost this game once with this position with black against I rarely play with black, but I had a game as Carlos Matamoros, I remember, where Carlos played this with white. This was the exact position because it was definitely like rook d1. He later did e4, e5, and then knight f1. I remember that very clearly. I haven't played it as black very often because I almost never played d4, d5 with black. This was a long time ago. It was like in 2000, and I was like experimenting with the Queen's Gambit declined. Rook d1, bishop b7 or bishop a6. You see, there's even a couple people that have played a5 here, because you can. I mean, normally the plan is to allow white to play e4, e5, and the knight goes back to e8. And we're not taking on e4 necessarily. Rook d1, bishop b7. That's more solid than bishop a6. And now e4. Yeah, and so you see there's a lot of games that popped up now. So this is standard. Rook c8. I had this weird game against I had this really weird game against the guy who died, Rousis. He did something really strange. He played like h6. I don't think the game is in the database. We had this. He did like knight h7. I mean, I had never seen anyone do that, like ever, on the black side of the Catalan. This is before he started using computers. Again, that same era. I think it was the same tournament where I lost to Matamoros. No, maybe not. I don't remember, but anyway, it was around the turn of the century, 2000. The tournament of the century. Yeah, that's weird. h6 is weird. And rook e8, you know, you can't play rook e8 because your knight has nowhere to go. So rook c8 is normal. And then, okay, what now? e5, knight e8. So the knight recycles here. Black is fine, you know. But, I mean, this is like my game. Basically, black is playing my game against Matamoros from, I don't remember where it was, probably in Spain. It was in Spain. Knight f1 he played at some point, but I don't remember when. So this looks like a very normal move. White has a kind of King's Indian attack. h4, knight f1, all standard. I don't know, my competition said right, I am white versus 2,000 feet, but I don't know if that means the game was played online or live. So black normally will do stuff like queen c7, queen b8, and then cycle the knight through c7. What Matamoros did was something like that, where he like took and moved his queen, and then he did like knight f1, knight e3, and tried to do like a kingside attack. But in the game, you played h4, so obviously there's a couple examples here where black played c5. That's possible, but it's not automatically good for black. Why not d takes c4? Well, I mean, we have to investigate. D takes c4, as you know, is a mortal sin against Kaisa. This is a closed Catalan. You know, the whole idea is to maintain d5. So this move, it's a mortal sin. I guess you're going to have to watch g5. You know, so clearly on this or something, you have to watch this. I mean, I think it's counterintuitive, but I'm not. It's not to say it's not playable, Arsenal fan. Maybe it's possible. You're also gonna have to watch knight g5, right? You're gonna get your ass handed to you in some lines. So knight takes c4, c5, knight g5 could be a little dangerous. I'm not sure if it works out tactically though. Yeah, this is winning. Well, you have to watch that trick, obviously. But it's not typical. It's not the typical plan to play d takes c4. You know, once you've committed to this setup, either you go like queen c7, queen b8, queen e8, or rook c7, queen e8, and you slowly unravel, or you play like these guys did with c5. But notice that black lost both games. So what's the problem with c5? c5 looks good, but ultimately, like, we're going to play a situation where I can take here. Now this is bad. And this, you know, it might lead to a situation where the e4 square can be used by white. Now both cases black did d takes c5, so this is also an issue. Because of knight g5, and if black takes with a knight, what's the problem? b4? I mean, we also have a queen problem. There's just two games. It's just two games. I mean, black could even take with a pawn, couldn't he? Well, knight g5. Yeah, knight g5 is really interesting. Maybe it doesn't cut it. I don't know. What do you guys think about knight g5? Maybe that's a serious problem. I could take and take with the queen, right? This is crazy, but why not? Who knows? You know, right? Yeah, this is playable for black. So I need to look at this. Yeah, that's weird. Black can recapture all four different ways. 1, 2, 3, 4. Check that out. Bishop takes, rook takes, b takes, and knight takes. All 4 recaptures are playable for black. They're all around the same. It's very funny. Alright, so after h4, your opponent played h6. This is a standard kind of move. And then stopping knight g5. Knight f1. I would imagine this position would be like a million correspondence games or something. To me, this looks very standard. And generally, after h6, sometimes the queen creeps over here. The queen can come to like g4. So h6 can often cost black in the long run. Once you play h6, you can't take it back. And that means, like, you know, you definitely can't play f6, probably. It's going to be harder for black to play f6 or f5. So in a perfect world, I think the c5 is necessary to be a little more active. And this variation is probably, you know, like, kind of critical, where you can actually actively take on g5. You can't just sit back. So h6 is kind of slow here. Standard. Queen c7. Standard. Bishop f4, very standard. Queen b8, very standard. You know, I'm curious, like, this guy, Cafe Chess guy, sending this in. I mean, where is this game being played? Is this an over-the-board game? Is this like a correspondence game? There's no games in the Masters database, although the game looks very logical. No games in Lichess either. Shocking. I'm actually kind of surprised. So at this point there are. At this point there are games. 3 games. Black's 2.5 out of 3. One's bullet. Black played c5. Ironically, black played c5 in all 3 games. You know, honestly, this was normally the plan anyway. But maybe it's just too slow. Because, I mean, you're looking at stuff like sacrificing on h6. We really need to get the knight in, though, you know, to the kingside Fischer-based Based on his verbiage, yeah. Well, his verbiage wasn't that extensive. I am white versus 2,000 FIDE. Because he said FIDE, right. That makes it sound like it's an over-the-board game. I thought the same thing. But I'm not 100% sure. Because I don't know where he went. It could just be someone who has 2,000 FIDE in their profile and they played it online. Queen b8, cd5, cd5, queen d2. And this is King's Indian attack. And this is like kind of how I lost to Matamoros when I was black, but not so officially. But it's interesting how this move works out. So if black plays c5, it changes the dynamic. Because pawn takes pawn will be met by bishop takes. And then the center is not really closed. And then this bishop is not closed down. So it looks like c5 is important. Its timing is important. However, we don't have to exchange on d5. White has to do something. So if we go back a move or two, the queen can also go to e2, but black could penetrate to the 7th. So say you go here first. Black plays queen b8, and then you exchange. Or maybe black plays c5. Yeah, we want to exchange before he goes. Okay, so let's say like pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn. Now you try to avoid the exchange of queens. Queen c2. Queen is a good defender. Okay, queen c7, bishop f4. Now he needs to play c5. Before it's too late. So this is like a mistake. Queen b8, and now we take, and then scientifically, the center's been closed, the bishop's bad. He plays bishop a6, but this is a ghost piece. And now white play g4, but I don't know. You know, I would be reluctant to play g4 because actually, yeah, it's fine. I guess it's strong. It doesn't matter. White's advantage is huge. You have a King's Indian attack. You could play knight h2, you can play knight e3. But I guess the bottom line is that this exchange isn't necessarily helping black. Exactly, I wouldn't allow bishop takes f1. But actually, sac draw, when you look at the situation, it's okay to allow bishop takes f1 because this is going to destroy black. You know, we're just going to go bishop d3. And that's just going to be another piece like crushing black on the king side. My first reaction was the same. I don't want to let black trade off his bad bishop, but it's not going to save him. He's fucked. He's already fucked. It doesn't matter. Black's too slow. g4. And this doesn't do anything. It's too slow. This is like, I talked to you guys about slow moving, you know, gelatinous cubes. White is a gelatinous cube. At the Mountains of Madness. H.P. Lovecraft. There are giant penguins walking around inside these like mountainous caverns. And there's these old creatures that are like centuries old that are basically Shoggoths. They're these giant monsters that are just like these cubes. And they just eat everything on the way, you know. You have no chance if you're like in the cavern with a giant cube. That's what white is doing on the king side. There's no escape. You can't get out of the cavern. And it just keeps moving toward you. It doesn't go faster. It just goes the same speed. Oh yeah, like bishop takes at h6. Come on. Now exchanging queens would be a problem. If black manages to effect an exchange of queens, he can probably put up some resistance. That's the one thing that white cannot allow here. So he plays here. Black plays queen a4, trying to get some counterplay, hitting the pawn there. So I figure rook takes c8, and we just go all in. I'm expecting a kingside you know, kingside slaughter here. So I mean, I think like Arsenal fans' suggestion, it doesn't work because of stupid queen. So we have to play. Yeah, that's annoying. And maybe black's still alive then. Almost feels like white made a mistake. This a2 pawn is not an issue, because then we sacrifice on h6 and it's game over, right? Yeah, but b3, he's just going to keep bothering us. That's the problem. He goes here. So we have to make sure we can avoid any kind of queen exchange. Maybe, in fact, a different square. Maybe a5 even. Because that way, if you try to shift over here, he'll hit you with bishop a6. So, for example, b3, queen a5, queen e3, this is probably best. I agree. And then the bishop takes h6. So now black would have to find some serious resource. But you never know. This might hold. Bishop takes h6, pawn takes h6, queen takes h6, and then queen c2 hitting there, coming back. Now we're getting to a situation where it's very calculation dependent. Your bishop f1, for example, might be like a decisive move. Probably not. But he can't go here. Bishop f1 looks pretty good, actually. I think the attack looks very strong. Yeah. Okay, bishop f1, bishop a6. Bishop a6, queen a6. Wow. And then it does the Boris Kryman. Boris Kryman did this to me in a King's Indian attack at the World Open. Oh my god. I got like mated. It was like rook h1. That's a gelatinous cube. All the way. Bishop takes c8. Rook c1, bishop a6. And now, you know, what looks like a very materialistic move, a3. But what can black do? Black needs to get to the c-file. He can't move his knight. Look at his 3 pieces. He's cubed. He's totally cubed here. Camel Culture's back. Saw your sister streaming yesterday. What's up, man? I rarely watch anybody, but I was just on Twitch, and for a moment I stopped by her stream. A3, I didn't say hi or anything. I just like to stalk people. A3, B5. Mr. Herman. Herman. Gustavo Herman. Black will clearly queen the extra A pawn. Black can't move his pieces. Look at those pieces. White is a gelatinous cube. White will win. Trust me. I guarantee it. I can guarantee it. My money is on white. Can I make a bet on like Polymarket about the chances of... He forgot to add that, yeah, he's like 2,400 feet, eh? A3, B5. Bishop takes H6. It's just not even close, dude. Can black really energize any kind of defense here? How is he not getting mated directly? We got a rook lift. Black must have thought, oh, I'm okay, because knight g5 would take that. Knight h5 would take that. Yeah, it doesn't look that obvious. Knight h5 would take that. G takes h. But you're facing the cube. This isn't just anybody. So cube is still threatening knight g5. And the cube also has rook c3, rook g3. I have faith in the cube. That was the plan. Rook c8 to the c file. So that eliminates our rook lift. Shit, bro. Do you guys want to check Stockfish's number one move here? King h2. I was curious. Wow. So it's not really a cube. White is compensation for the sacrifice piece, but it's not enough to win. Wow. I thought white was probably winning. Okay, so what's the main deal? This queen on d1? So white actually screwed this up. I can't believe this isn't winning. What if you find something else here? What about bishop f1 immediately? Black's going to play rook c8, knight f8. I can't believe he can defend. White can also delay the sacrifice on h6. It's not going anywhere. If bishop f1, though, black always has b4. Which I don't know if it works tactically, but it makes sense. So it looks like black's surviving. That's amazing if he can survive this. I thought black was just lost. That's crazy. What about rook c7? It doesn't work. Rook c7? Can we throw that in there? I didn't like g4 either. Honestly, Camel Culture. I didn't love g4 either, but I figured white's position was so overwhelming that it didn't matter. It wouldn't have been my first choice. We can go back to that position. I want to get my knight in. You know, I wanted to do like a sacrifice with maybe with a knight involved. You know, this is very close to a King's Indian attack. Knight 93 looks super strong. Black is I just keep saying super. I love adverbs too much. You know, I use too many adverbs. Super. Is super an adverb or an adjective? I'm not sure. Maybe it's both. He was a very guy. GMV Sharky has followed. I say 93. Yeah. But it was the second move. Oh, shit. The engine likes g4 too, though. But I agree with Cow Culture. I prefer the piece play here. g4 is up there. It's hard to think that this isn't winning for white. Maybe rook a c1. That's funny. That might be a mistake. Be funny if bishop f1 were a good move. Ironically, like trading your own like good bishop off for black's bad bishop. I'm skeptical. Doesn't seem right. It goes against everything that we're trying to do here. I just want to avoid all exchanges. Why rook c1? You know, maybe this is a mistake. Can he just launch the attack now? No, because queen c2 is the problem. Well, there is knight e1. Then we have one less piece on the king side. The h4 is just hanging. We can't do that. Yeah, I don't know. It's funny. Well, black is 2,000 FIDE. So here we're better. Bishop a6. I don't like a3. Maybe this is the mistake, right? Obvious. No, wait a second. Why do we need to worry about a stupid a pawn? Is that what Cam Culture was talking about before? Is that what you meant by that comment? Was that what you're talking about? Black's going to queen the a pawn? I didn't understand what you were talking about. So maybe this is the critical moment, right? We should sack now. I don't care if he takes my a pawn, right? We're praying, we're playing for mate. But the knight g7 is super califragic. because it allows rook c8. Oh, shit. There's also bishop d3, though. That's going to be annoying. You know, the classic bishop d3 defense. Now, white's winning here, apparently. Almost winning. So let's see bishop d3. Not good enough. Queen a2, not good enough. Slaggy's right. I am right. So a3 is suspect. a3 is too materialistic. Super materialistic. You could have sacrificed the move sooner. Should it make that much difference, though? Can't believe that. Can't believe that makes that much difference. It doesn't. It doesn't. It doesn't. White's winning. So bishop f1, b4. We were looking at this, right? Bishop f1, b4. Do we have b3? Is that the point? No, our knight's hanging. I don't get it. Bishop a6. Queen a6. Jesus Christ. Oh my God. That's the idea. Wow. So this crazy move, knight f5 out of nowhere. If you get bishop f1, bishop takes a6. So this is a killer. So instead he played knight h5. This is a really bad move. Knight h5, gh5, rook c8. Now black's hanging on. Bishop f1, queen c1. And we're down a piece, but we have a lot of threats. That was the computer. It cheated. Difficult to see that, you know, the knight f5 thing. So now it's like black is actually better. Although I would be scared if this was a long game and I didn't have a lot of time for black. Yeah, I mean, even if it's not objectively like winning for white or better, I mean for black, it's like hard to play. Scary. Taking on g5 is disaster. There's h6, h7. What about, you can't with the bishop. But should he take on g5? No. You should take and play knight f8. Always take on f8. Always play knight f8, right? What else is there? Okay, the problem is you could get mated on g7. Not likely. Okay, so this position, seriously, black played b takes a, then he took, okay, h takes g, then knight f8, that's what I said. And now white played queen takes a7. And it's probably like close to winning for black. But the a pawn is kind of problematic, huh? I don't know what's going on. It looks like white is losing. Loses the center, it all fell apart. So he wasn't a gelatinous cube after all. White was quite human. But it had everything under control, you know. It was excellent until a3. Not necessary. Queen a7. I agree. Queen a7 was weird. I did not expect queen a7. Yeah. So we go back to that position for a minute. It's nice to see Camel Culture, by the way. Well, not see him, but... Yeah, it looks slow. So maybe white still has a chance here, but what are we going to do? g6? Holy shit, bro. Yeah, okay, but he's got the saver. Savored the flavor. G6 takes H6, Queen D7. Oh no. Oh no. Yeah. Yeah, but stay over there, right? In that vicinity. It's probably losing. No, it's probably lost. He sacked a piece. It wasn't sound. All right, so the last game, which we didn't get to yet, is Morales, and this is Morales black. Mr. Morales never makes it to the Thursday streams, but he always sends in a game, which is nice. Knight f3, knight f6, b3. This is our second one today. And now, Morales, like you were playing, I know he's not here, but I'm talking to him like he's here. He was playing King's Indian type stuff lately. So, and he's an e4 player, strictly. So I really, I have to ask, you know, he was also playing the Petrov, then I saw some Sicilian, some modern. So Morales black here against the 2400. But I mean, why d5? I mean, you're an e4 player who plays King's Indian type stuff, or modern Budapest Gambit. Suddenly you're playing white. You know, you're playing white. You're playing white a tempo down. You're d4 white. It doesn't make sense, you know. Maybe if you play g6 on the next move or something, but I think too many people don't think about like how their approach to the flank openings lines up with the way they play with white. How can it possibly make sense to play the white side of d4 down a tempo in a Queen's Indian if you're an e4 player every single game with white? It doesn't make sense. You know, Nefedov does stuff like that sometimes too. A lot of people do that, you know, but Morales is like he's so methodical in his normal lines that he's so good with white especially. I just don't understand why e4 players don't realize they're playing d4 when they're black here. You know, it doesn't make sense. Bishop b2. Okay, so this is like a panacea. You can do it against everything. And actually a good idea. I don't want you to continue as an e4 player playing some kind of queen pawn game a tempo down. You know, I don't think that makes sense. So I expected like g6 probably. Via panaceas. The London system, the Slav. But I don't think that black, based on Morales' repertoire, I don't think he should play d5. I don't understand why. You know, if you play King's Indian, you play g6 or maybe d6. If you play like modern defense, you play d6. You can play c5, kind of Sicilian. I don't know if Sicilian's in his repertoire. But then again, you know, okay, then fine. You know, you do d6 or g6. All right, so d5, bishop b2, bishop g4. And now, I played this a lot, but with the knight on g8. The threat of bishop takes f3 isn't a big deal, necessarily. So white can play c4. Very few games with c4. I don't know why. It seems like a reasonable move. Other moves include g3, e3, and d4. Knight e5 doesn't really do a lot. He played that. Now where to go? h5 keeps an eye on the e-pawn, preventing. Yeah, here's Sebe versus somebody from 2015. So bishop f5 just allows white the London with e3. This meme seems better. And now Yuri Lapshin would play like queen c1. Lapshin-Blatny attack. By the way, like, what's so bad about c4? Seriously. Two players play bishop takes f3. Crucial with black. Outrating his opponent by 200 points. Both cases are players who outrated their opponents by a lot. So after what? E takes f3, e6. This is kind of a standard line. We go Dlugi. Albert Dlugi. G6, bishop g7. I've had a lot of games like that. Alright, so g3 is fine, too. This just trades pieces. It's fine for black. Now, I don't know. Which way do we take? King takes us out. Unless you want to be really weird. So, queen takes d7 does seem a little bit awkward. This knight can come here, come to f3, maybe e5, but it's only temporary. Are you concerned about allowing bishop takes f6? Because I don't think that's a big deal. So I think it's a tough call. Bishop g2, okay, boring position, c6, equal, castles. And now there's 3 games, and black scored 2.5 out of 3. Quang Liam versus Renier Gonzalez. So, yeah, e5, now a standard sort of Tory attack. White played c4 now. There is one game with c4. Momchil Todorov. d4. Yeah, that seems stupid for white. So definitely not c4. D3, knight d2. Also possible to play queen e1. I mean, a very normal King's Indian attack type thing. What has white really gotten out of this thing? This whole knight e5, right? This is why you don't do knight e5, because it doesn't do anything. All he did was like trade pieces. It doesn't benefit white at all. It makes it look good what black did. So I don't like this move. This is kind of dubious. d3 was played. That's a totally standard move. Bishop d6, knight d2. This is Renier Gonzalez, the Cuban player who lives in the States. Castles, queen e1. He played a very strange move now, bishop f3. I don't like this move. Really. I mean, he's afraid of Quang Liam playing f5. White's already worse. Either way, he's slightly worse already. Morales is a gelatinous cube. So, somebody played c4. Maybe this is better than that other line. Okay, c4, d4. Maybe it's not so bad. d3. We're going to transpose. And now Morales plays bishop c5. No, bishop d6. Keeping c5 for the knight. But Momchil Todorov with bishop c5. Not Todorov. Not Todor Todorov. Pollution makes you sleepy? Get more sewage. Bishop c5. No, not to be confused with Todor Todorov, who I lost to. Todor is like, wait. What is it now? I knew that was Todor. Todor. What is the translation of Todor in English? Todor. There was an English name that it translated to, and now I can't remember what it was. Because the guy is Todor Todorov. Todor of Todorov. Todor Todorov Todorovsky. Theodore, thank you. Thank you. Good job, Mr. Coffee. Yeah, I think it's Theodore. All right. Position makes me sleepy. Oh, I know. This is Klaus Klunt. German, I am. Bishop d6. Well, I mean, it's hard to decide where to put the bishop. Bishop c5 can be hit, though. I mean, they both can be hit by knight d2 and knight d4. You can also play bishop e7. I mean, that's like the safest. Black needs to get his king castled, objectively. Bishop c5 seems to be against e3. He already can't play that. White plays knight d2, and now Morales played f5. And Klaus Klunt didn't do that. Unsurprisingly. Because you got a very principled player, but at the same time, if you're going to put the bishop on d6, well, I mean, okay, I think castles is fine. If knight e4, dude, you're just going back and you're going to blast him with f5 later, so it doesn't matter. But f5 right away, now I'm playing queen e1. There's this, it looks slow. Please castle. a3, a5. White's playing like my former teammate in the World Team Championship 2 years ago. He had a Benoni like this with white. I was like, what are you doing, man? It's not that hard to be clearly worse. When you play like a reverse Benoni, I lost a lot of games. Those two are Bulgarian chess players. I know. I played Nikolov in a tournament in 2005, and the other guy, well, I know of Todor Todorov, but the other guy might have been this guy who he was playing here in some title IM tournaments. I'm not sure. Maybe it was a different guy. There's a lot of similar names. But anyway, Nikolov I played. Of course they're Bulgarian. Knight f3, castles, queen c2, and white is a bad Benoni. You know, this is very easy to be worse in these reverse Benonis. But the weird thing about it is the fact that Morales is such an e4 player, and now he's adapting to playing, you know, a d4 game, like the white side of a Tory attack. And now this is just unnecessary. But maybe it's good. Unnecessary and good. My first reaction here is like, we don't need to play this move, so don't play it. Focus on fundamentals. The problem is we can't play e4 without dropping the d4 pawn. So if you want to like checkmate white, you're going to have to do it without e4. Which means like something like f4, some brute force piece attack on the king side, or g5, g4 or something. So this move, the nice thing about this move, who cares, right? I think that white needs to realize he's in like the middle of a 4-alarm fire right now, and you better play e3 sooner rather than later. And I'm not sure you have any time to think about it. He might be already like objectively close to lost. He played this. This is exactly like what my teammate got in Poland in 2004 in the summer with white. I was like horrible watching like an amateur player get this kind of position with white and lose on a team. But his bishop got buried, obviously. But can you play e3? If I can play e3, you know. No concerns about b7, but yeah. But I think that white, you know, white is really in trouble. And white really needs to do something, or he's just like hosed, you know, gradually. Something, anything. Maybe b4. I guess we should consider b4. You're talking about d5, and you're right. I mean, I guess with b4, we're just eating this pawn. You know, it's like, okay, this is a Benko, we're up a pawn. Obviously, there's more than one way to do it. You could take with the pawns. So b4 seems kind of dubious. But, you know, maybe this move is playable. It looks dangerous. Like, there's some kind of... Well, there are sacrifices, but like you pointed out, d5 might be very good to save white here. If you try anything fancy... I mean, there's a lot to calculate, but just saying. This is probably not enough because of queen d5 check. White's got to attack the center or he's going to get squashed. So then what do we do? If you take, I mean, the bishop on b2 is part of the game now. So it doesn't seem like black should do that. So I'm not sure exactly. Black is much better, but e3, f4. It's not stupid. Black has like a crushing space advantage. And you've got this Benoni where your f pawn is, no. No, I don't think it's stupid. It might be best, you know. White probably takes and then tries to control the e file. At least there's like a mutually open file. How's the evaluation here? It's 0.7. So we can come back with the bishop to c1. Maybe white can kind of hold on. Oh, you mean e3, f4? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Okay. No, I think that's probably a critical line. But he doesn't do e3. He does this. This is the super passive and terrible. I mean, so now like this diagonal could be a big problem if you get some tactics going. Like if this opens up, the rook's unprotected. What the hell is white doing? Now f4 is probably even stronger. I mean, you can play f4 now, but don't have to. Well, we need to build up. So Morales played h6 like a boss. Yeah, I did this video series like for chess lecture a few years ago, which I called Botvinnik on space, and he just like would just methodically like smush people. I mean, white has got to be close to lost here. I mean, it's just nothing to do. You have no counterplay. Black's gonna have to make like a grave error, not to be like plus 1.5 or something. The computer is saying e3. Yeah, I mean, it almost wants to play bishop b2. You have to try e3 before it's too late. The guy does bishop d2. 2400 in what rating system is white 2400? Maybe he's 2400 elo. Maybe he's playing blindfolded. Okay, so now look, can we do something with our queen? Morales is Grand Prix attack player, right? So you think like Grand Prix attack player would be pretty comfortable here. Queen f6, rook a e8. Although we gotta watch the a pawn. White's attacking the a pawn. Okay. Well, yeah, this is a roller. I mean, you can play bishop h7, and bishop g6. Sorry, and it's like, okay, that's not a defense. This is like lost for white. It looks lost. I mean, just lost. How does he defend against that threat of e4? Bishop g6. It's weird to play bishop g6. Queen e7 is more natural. Then, no, this. And we're coming with e4. Looks crushing. So he did play bishop g6. It looks like a decent move. The computer says question, and queen e7 was best. Okay. Why so bad, though? Knight h4 for real? Wow. Maybe Richard is an engine, and he just uses here and there the computer. I'm paranoid everybody's cheating. Okay, bishop h7. Wow, he grabs this pawn. Yum, yum. Rook b8. There's your check. King h8. And now, okay. Let's play the weirdest move we could possibly think of. Not knight g2. Not king h1. Not bishop g2. Not a4. Because I'm obviously going to play this. Bishop h1? Who plays that move? That's crazy. Wow. So he figures His knight's going to be attacked, and he doesn't want the bishop stuck out there. Queen e7 is an obvious move, trying to enforce e4. And now white grabs another pawn. It's an all-you-can-eat buffet. That's crazy. e4. I don't know. This is a fast game, right? 3 minutes, but both sides have two plus. g5, knight g2. Well, I mean, that's fine, right? Classic. Knight e1. Everything's fine. What could possibly go wrong here for white? So f4, trash compactor on the king side. White can't be a computer unless he's like absolutely trolling black, right? Well, I guess some people do that. Try to get as close as you can to the edge of Lost, and then like troll them with the engine. I guess some people probably do that to like torment the others. D takes e4. I don't know what else to suggest. Bishop takes e4. Queen e2. And now Morales, he becomes like Mr. Material with bishop takes b1. But this bishop is so strong, I'm almost like crushed to take that rook, But he's kind of like, if he doesn't do it, I mean, I keep hallucinating that my queen is like on this diagonal. If only I could play queen e6, queen h3, knight f6, knight g4. Grand Prix attack player takes this rook. It almost looks like a decent exchange sack for white. But I guess he is threatening knight e1 to consolidate. You kind of have to. It feels like, honestly, if you had one more move, it was black to move here, our kingside attack is probably like crushing. We need like one more move. Hard to use the queen on e7 though. Like what does it do? It doesn't do anything. So he takes, but this might be holdable for white. Now what are you going to do? Queen h3. Rook takes f2. He plays knight e5. We're threatening knight g4. I guess. Is that a threat? I don't know. Probably, yeah, it is a threat, right? So knight e1, and suddenly he's going to defend with the Albin defender, knight d3. Queen f6. Oh. And now f2 is difficult to defend. Difficult but not impossible. Could white play e3? Oh my god. I'm just wondering if this is possible. Oh, there's knight takes e4. Whoa. How long has that been there? Oh, you had this move already? He has knight takes c4? Why isn't that lights out? What's the material? Takes. We're up 2 exchanges. We're winning. So knight takes c4 wins. Queen f6 wins too. The threat's still there. Okay. So he has this. He chooses to play g4. And there's no defense. So at this point we're up a rook. But there's h6. Now we're panicking. Now we're really panicking. Now we're panicking. We're still up a clean exchange. So it should be over. So here I thought rook, get the rook in the game. But white still has rook e1. Oh. Grand Prix attack. The guy's still defending. He's a master of defense. Well, if you play openings like this with white, where you get bad reverse Benoni's, you better be good at defense. Seriously. You better be very good at avoiding mate in ones. And just love defending. Because when you get this kind of spatial disadvantage with white after like 15 moves, because I've been there, where you like just barely cross your third rank, yeah, you have to really enjoy defending. This is obviously winning, but it's, you know, a 1 minute game at this point, and black is down to 15 seconds. And he keeps failing to find some kind of one move knockout. No mate here. So what's he do, like a draw? With no time left, black 15 seconds is plenty, but not for Morales. Not really a blitz player. He does like a repetition. So our queen's attacked. We have to find a better move here. Rook h1, right? f1. Rook f1. If it's a tactics puzzle you want, I'm going with this one. Shit, there's a problem. Oh my god. So rook b7 check actually works. Oh my god, dude. That's so annoying. Wow. So if we play rook f1, white has this, so we have to go rook f7. We're still probably winning, right? But there's no immediate way, and we're down to 15 seconds. Oh, you see something? Queen f3 check. King h2, bishop g1. Oh, that's fancy. Oh, that wins the queen. Oh no, it wins the queen. Oh my god. I thought you were going to go like queen f1 and trade into an endgame or something when white has these passed pawns. It just wins the queen. Oh my god. Alright. Yeah, he panicked. He just panicked. So you cheated and looked at the analysis. You probably don't need to do that, right? Camel Culture National Master. Alright. So that's Morales. That's it, guys. That's it. We're all done. Yes. Finally. Thanks for tuning in. And thanks for knocking my health points. Let's see. Steam Boss. Yeah, Stream Boss. What do we got? Stream Boss feature. I want to see it. How low is our health now? Health bar unlocked. 2,043 hit points. Look at that. I've been knocked down to 2,043 hit points. If you guys get me down to 0, then there'll be a new stream boss. So this is kind of fun. Every time I get a follow or a donation or whatever, then we get knocked down. And we're almost halfway. We're past halfway there. So whoever, I guess, makes the last donation or whatever becomes stream boss. And we go from there. Anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. And you're welcome. Cafe House Chess, the Latinus Cube, was much better than Bishop takes g6. Oh, g5. Well, we didn't really look at g5 in your game. There was more refinements. The next stream boss is a slow Gelatinous Cube. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. Nice to see Camel Culture. Take care, guys, and we'll be back tomorrow with some Blitz in the midday around 12 to 1 or so, Central European time. The cat is here. Thanks for tuning in. You're new here. And then Sunday I do a simul. Every week we have a simul. So classical simul. Hopefully no annoying grandmasters will be hosting simuls at exactly the same time as me, like happened last week. So we get 25 players. Anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. I'll see you all. Bye-bye.